What's funny comedy?
Yo, you not in our lane, so quit acting like we rockin' the same. What's funny comedy podcast? Are you not entertained? It's time to man up. My live people, put your hands up. From improvisations to stand up, we band up. These haters overheated. We going undefeated. Sit downs and live interviews. It's what the culture needed. A new monopoly for black comedy.
When you think of a comedy club or a comedy bar, it's much more than just a venue. They are discovering and exploring new talent on a daily basis. It's connection and the home where laughter lives. With that, we want to welcome you back to the What's Funny Today show. If you are just tuning in with us, this is season 3. We get a chance to talk to talent across the country. We host stand-up. We talk about stand-up on stage, behind the scenes, content, film, and building comedy rooms. I'm Mindy B, as always, excited to host this conversation. We have a lady boss in the room with us today. Yeah. And for every post that you like, that you share, that you comment on, we greatly appreciate it. If you're watching, just make sure you subscribe to the YouTube so you don't miss each episode as it drops. So we're going to get started as usual and introduce the cast. We never start our show without talking to our founding father, as I hear he likes to be called. Yeah. All the content that gets posted, he's behind the scenes. 3 seasons of What's Funny Today show and 2 years of the What's Funny Comedy Festival. Make sure you tap in with Knowledge Beckham.
Thanks, Mindy. What's happening?
I'm excited to be here.
We've been out the game for a little while.
Yeah, and another lady is here with me too. So it's always the guys, but I'm excited. I feel pumped up today.
I love it.
And he is back. You guys have been asking. He's not gone. There he is in the flesh. The raw, funny, talented, 25-year veteran, Sean Morgan is in the building today, y'all.
Sean, you know they've been asking for you. On our YouTube, they're like, where's Sean? He's on IR.
Yeah, injured reserve. I broke my foot. I'm out my boot.
That's what's up.
And our lady boss is here, focused on building and shaping the business side of comedy. With just about 15 years or so in the game, she's expanded from Chicago to Detroit to Pittsburgh and deals with comedians on a daily basis.
Unfortunately.
Let's give it up for our lady boss. Let's insert Rick Ross, the boss music right now for Sahar Lane, the owner of the Comedy Bar.
Sahar, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to be here.
So I don't know if anyone else, everybody knows the Comedy Bar, right? The favorite popular venue, but we never see the person, right?
That's right.
Well, I am one half. My better half.
Yes,
my husband is my partner. He was kind of the one that started it all, but I've honestly taken it over, which is okay, and I'm sure he's fine with that too.
That has to be like the ultimate low cortisol profession, to be in business with your partner and laughing all the time. Cortisol levels are super low, right?
It's actually, I think people are always like, how do you guys do it? How do you work together so much and do everything else together? I honestly could not imagine having to work with random people and pretend it's already hard enough to do that with our other venue partners and the other managers and stuff.
Tell me about it, Sahar.
I like to have somebody that I can just be honest with. And, it's a lot, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I couldn't imagine having to just work a regular job. Yeah.
That's super awesome. So I would love to just be a fly on the wall. If people actually knew who you were or knew that you were coming to a show, how many people would be DMing you? What would your DMs look like if someone knew, oh, Sahar's going to be there? How many comedians do you think would be DMing you trying to get booked?
Honestly, not really. It's really not like that. I think that I'm pretty accessible.
Oh, you okay?
So most comics that work our venue, unless it's somebody that I just haven't met yet and maybe one of our regular hosts booked and I didn't, are the only ones, but I have a pretty open door policy.
You keep yourself out
there. If
That's
anybody
awesome.
Needs to reach me, if anybody has questions, if anybody ever needs help with anything, I like to be a resource because there's enough bookers and most club owners are not a 36-year-old woman. They're some 70-year-old man who you don't even know their name, and all they know is maybe the club manager or the door guy or whatever. But we're in this kind of unique situation where when we started, we were a bar show. And then we kind of grew into this legitimate business. And so it's like, we were one of them when we started, and now we're kind of just trying to continue maintaining being part of the community as much as possible.
So Sahar, prior to you meeting Kyle, who's more of the comedy side of it, or kind of grew up in that space, on a scale of 1 to 10, where was your interest or love for comedy? Where would you put it prior to the club? Just kind of,
So, I met Kyle at 19, so I didn't have that much of a head start. But I love stand-up. I did used to go to shows, stand-up shows that I could get into. You know, I wasn't old enough to go to a lot of places, but I did like stand-up. I used to go to, was it the North Shore Theater? What was it called? Where Laugh Factory is now.
Oh, yeah, North Shore, yep.
So I used to go there to see stand-up and local shows at restaurants and bars and stuff. And then I met Kyle on this podcast that we shall not talk about. And and he was a comedian, and the show had a lot of comedians on it. And then he's like, hey, I want to start this room. Will you help me? And then the rest was kind of history. So
interesting, because that's I try to think prior to meeting Rail. So I met Rail in 2006, but before then, I could probably count on one hand how many comedy shows I had gone to that weren't like Eric Crown or Chris Rock's big ones like that. Like I think even when Riddle was during the heyday, I might have gone twice, and I might have went to maybe a Giovanni's with Marlon Mitchell once, but I wasn't out in the comedy streets like that. So
I didn't even. I mean, obviously I was young, but I basically grew up in Chicago and did Chicago, whatever. I never even knew that this whole comedy scene in this world existed. Right. So just like a lot of other people who first get introduced to it, you're just like, whoa, like this is amazing, it's a real thing, and it's fun. It's like you just like get to be part of this community all of a sudden that you didn't even know existed, and it's nice. Yeah.
So between you being in business with your husband, which one of you is the funny one?
Well, him for sure.
He's the funny one. Why would you say that?
I mean, he was a comedian.
I
made him quit. I didn't make him quit. He decided to step away when the business took off. And he still does like public speaking and writing and stuff, but he's not like just a stand-up comedian anymore, because it was just weird. You can't be their boss and their peer. But I mean, I'm not funny, but I think he thinks I am, but I have a very like dry, straightforward business kind of vibe. So if you understand my humor, then maybe you think I'm funny, but he's definitely the funny one.
Do you remember seeing a comedian as you you mentioned you were 19, you were young, and you guys were going to all these spaces. Do you remember seeing a comedian like confirming like, yes, okay, this is what I'm actually going to do, or actually what we want to do, or just excited the idea that your husband brought to you in the first place?
I didn't mean to get into comedy at all. So growing up, I was always involved with like dance. So I did perform in that sense. But the thing I liked the most about it was producing, the choreography, the costumes, the lighting design, all that. And then I was always part of the production team in different like theatrical productions in high school and college. And so I always loved production. I never really planned to go into it. I think I wanted to be an interior designer, which I still like, but so I accidentally fell into comedy because I was bored and was looking for internships, and I found that thing, and I ended up meeting Kyle and learning about the comedy scene, and I just kind of started doing it, and I went, oh, this is great, and I'm good at this, and I like this, and it's actually a lot of the stuff that I know how to do that I've been doing and didn't realize I could do professionally, and so it just kind of happened very organically.
Yeah,
that's how it does. Awesome. Do you look? I think Sean made this comment on a previous episode, and it was a good something to think about. From a comedy bar perspective, do you feel any responsibility? Is it just a business, or do you feel kind of a responsibility to comedy as a whole, given that you have a stage, you have this community of people that are trying to take it to the next level?
You really want to open this can of worms?
I do.
Because I'm about to talk for a while.
Please.
That is the ultimate reason and driving force behind the comedy bar. Like if you had to take us and put a mission statement behind it. Yeah, I'm very fortunate that we get to make our living and have a livelihood through this thing that we pulled out of our butts and built from nothing, But ultimately, like, and Kyle will say this in a more romantic, beautiful way, but we're here to bring humor to the world. We are here to help people just laugh more and communicate in a more positive way and connect and cope through something like humor rather than anger or sadness or whatever. It's like we've been given, you know, I'm quoting my husband here, but we've been given this gift of humor as humans, and like other living beings don't have that. And like we do have an ultimate responsibility to like respect that and use it very intentionally. And so we absolutely, every single thing that we do, of course, we have our business and its longevity in mind with every decision that we make, because it does pay my bills. But at the same time, there is a lot that we do that maybe isn't going to make me the most money, but it's the right thing to do for humor and for the community and for people. And not everybody understands that. And I think that a lot of the comedians and performers and just people in the industry, you know, it's the entertainment industry. So you get a lot of people that are in it for the wrong reasons, or they're in it for selfish reasons, which is fine, whatever. But there's absolutely a leadership position and a sense of responsibility that we have taken that most people don't even comprehend or care about, that frustrates me, because I think a lot of my competitors don't give a shit.
Right.
And I do, and yet like the comics will, you know, treat them like gods and treat me like shit. So then that's like a whole other conversation. But
I get that. So responsibility to the audience first or to the comedians first? Which one would be, you know, both are important, but which one would be kind of?
I would say the audience.
Okay.
Because the comedians are on our team, you know, the comedians, if I'm paying you to be there, you're part of this company that is here to serve the audience. If we don't have the audience, then why are we doing this?
Right.
You know, we're trying as a comic, as a producer, as the sound guy, it doesn't matter. We're all here to bring joy and laughter and humor to these people that are seeking it out.
Yeah.
And so like, we all have to work together to achieve that goal.
Right.
And so it's not about you, it's about what we're all trying to do as a team here. And so if we hire comics who are not team players, who think it's all about them, I'm the first one to go, no, thank you. I don't need to work with you anymore.
Got it. Sean, jump in here. You got a comedy club owner. I know we've talked about this before. Sometimes, you know, you're a 25-year guy. If you talk Chicago, what I'm going to call South Side, West Side, urban comedy, you know, North Side's more mainstream. And a Sean Morgan, no fault of yours, Sean Morgan hasn't been on a comedy bar stage. Are we, because I've been in comedy forever, right? So you have the comics that are always going to be in front of you, and that's a part of it. But that doesn't always mean that's the best of what we have to offer.
Yeah.
And then you have folks like him and probably a few others that I would know that always play my stages.
Yeah.
That you probably don't know, but I feel would be great looks for your stage. So if you know where I'm going with this, Sean, like I'd love for, we have a comedy club owner. We've talked about how things have changed over the years with influencers, et cetera.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can say this. I've never done the comedy bar the first time I did it. Well, first time I was there was during the festival.
Okay.
And so I know that there are people there that do it. And that's good because the dynamic is different, right? When I started, you know, urban and mainstream basically meant black and white.
Yep.
Black people stayed south, white people stayed north, right? So we didn't dabble down there, and they didn't come too much south.
Yep.
So I see that it's kind of they're kind of integrating a little bit, which, you know, me personally, anybody who knows me know I don't believe in that. So I don't believe in white funny and black funny. It's either funny or it's not. I tell the exact same jokes at any club. I don't switch it because of the demographic, right? So when I was coming up, it was a I want to say a testament, but it was like a privilege to be the black that get to perform up north.
Up north, yeah.
And so with my temperament, that didn't work out quite well for me because the first time I did it, I won't say the club, but like I'm fresh off HBO.
We want to know the club. Tell us, name the club.
Sahar wants to know what club.
I'm
here
not
for
gonna
the
do that
tea.
because that's not what we do. But I'm literally fresh off Bad Boys, fresh off HBO, fresh off of this, and so I did the club because they asked me to do the club. It was me and a Caucasian counterpart. And so they pulled me in the room and they was like, well, Sean, you can't say this. Don't talk about that. Don't use this word. Don't talk
Never
this.
mind. I know what
And
club
then,
it is.
and I said, okay, right? And so I didn't do it. And I still had a pretty productive show because contrary to belief, I started on TV.
You do that,
so
right.
I didn't start on the explicit stuff. I started with Comic View and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went up and I did my set, and the Caucasian counterpart went up there and he was like, yeah, some dick blow snot bubbles and bitch fuck snot motherfuckers. And I was like, wait, what? So I asked him, and basically I was like, well, what the fuck is that? And they was like, well, we don't do. I said, listen, bro, if we gonna play, this role, then I'm not gonna do this club because you're not gonna blatantly show me that this is some step and fetch and shit. Like, you got the wrong comedian.
Right.
Like, I'm not gonna feel privileged to be here. I haven't done this shit my entire career, and if I don't do it again, I'm pretty sure I'll pay a bill tomorrow. So I never did that club ever again. And they call me now to this day because they have new management or ownership.
Yeah.
And I was like, they can blow that shit out their ass because you've already showed me that this is an apartheid club, and I'll never do your club. I'm just not gonna do it. So I appreciate the Comedy Bar because I see diversion. I've seen OJ Lamont and I see different people there, and it doesn't. When I was there, it didn't have that vibe. It didn't have that feel. Same thing as the improv. I love the improv because when you're there, it's a different vibe. Like, if I don't feel welcome there, and people don't think that that's a thing, but that's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I did a spot, another spot, and I'm gonna cut this short. But I did a show, and I was headlining the show in Michigan, right? And so, literally, I said, well, this is when I was drinking, so this was some time ago. And I was like, well, do I get a drink? And he was like, oh, I said, what do you mean? I don't get a drink. And so I asked the bartender, I said, well, what drink what drink do I have as a headline? And so the owner didn't know I was standing there. Right? And he said, so what do the headliners get tonight? This literally happened. He was like, tonight? Shit. I said, what the fuck? So what night do you get stuff? So I did well. And afterwards, they pulled me in. It was the same spiel and the same apologies. And I never played that club again.
Good for you.
So I don't. And so Comedy Bar, we haven't worked together because I'm just in a weird space comedically, personally, but it's not because I don't want to do it.
Well, that's good to know.
I would love to hear like your response to that, Sahar, because when listening to all of that, that was a huge compliment to your bar, right? So is that a thing with the audience? And we could be, completely open and honest on this show, like Black audiences, white audiences, LGBTQ audiences. How do you shape that, or how do you organize, line everything up, or is that not even a thing at all for you?
I mean, look.
And did you realize that? Did you realize that divide? I think from a
so I mean, okay. So when we opened,
which was what year?
It was 2000. Well, we've gone through some transformations over the time, but it was January 2010.
Okay,
is when my first comedy club opened.
Got it. 15 years. Congrats.
Okay, so we were downtown.
Yep.
And at the time, there was only 2 clubs in town. There was the one he's talking about, which I guess I won't name.
You can name him. He doesn't want to name.
Okay, so there was Zanies.
It was Zanies,
and
right.
then there was Jokes and Notes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so we were like, all right, well, and Kyle was a comic.
Yep.
So he's like, well, fuck Zanies, because they never book anybody. They don't support the local comics very much, or at least they didn't at the time, whatever. And Jokes and Notes was like, It was insane.
Yep.
I was there a few times. It was very fun, but like if you didn't kill there, then
Yeah.
you were getting,
Yeah.
slaughtered. Like, they made
Facts.
you know that you
Facts.
suck. So it was hard. And most comics on the North Side weren't going down and trying to do stage time at Jokes and Notes. And so it was very divided. And we opened a club downtown. I mean, I still think it's crazy that there wasn't a club downtown.
Agreed.
And we're still the only club downtown. I mean, good. I hope nobody else opens.
Right.
But at the time, we were like the middle ground. And
Yep.
we were a comic ran club that was booking local comedians. We were not bringing in door deal headliners and just, trying to sell tickets. We were just booking all the nobodies of Chicago and going, hey, we're a great show. Come out and see a show. And it worked. And people were coming out for our brand, not for the headliner, necessarily. And so it allowed us to book whoever the hell we wanted. If we thought you were funny, then we were booking you. And I still do that. And, and of course the business has evolved, social media, the internet, everything has happened. And so, but I'm open 7 days a week. I've got other cities. So I really do still book whoever I want, whenever I want. And if I book a TikTok comic, it's because I like them. It's not because I'm saying that person is more legit than that other local comic. It's just that I really look at comedians as my product.
Right.
And there are some comics who are assets and liabilities. And when I say liability, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that person costs me money and fulfills a service or a job. And then that other person also costs me money and fulfills a service and a job, but they bring something extra to the table. They bring, marketing value. They bring they're so funny that like, it just makes you know what I mean? That they're just so talented that they bring more value. They're just so amazing and easy to work with that they bring extra value. Those people are an asset. We give those people extra stage time, extra attention, extra love, extra money, whatever it is, because they're bringing more value than just showing up, doing 10 minutes and getting off stage. And so, we very much, and again, I'm going to quote my husband on this one, comedy are like ice cream flavors. So everybody loves ice cream. Everybody loves chocolate and vanilla. But there's pistachio and there's Rocky Road and there's all the weird stuff that you've never heard of. And maybe not everybody likes that, but there is an audience for it. And we're an ice cream shop. And like, just because you don't like that one guy doesn't mean that other people don't. And so we're always going to offer all the flavors. And people can come out and see whoever they want to see. And in fact, I don't like it when there's a show. Like if there's a headliner that's clearly got like this particular demographic, if I was the one in charge of booking the entire lineup, I would be putting people that are completely the opposite as the openers.
Right.
Because I want to diversify the lineup. I want to make it so that if some random person showed up just to see a show and maybe they didn't like the headliner, well, they're going to like the opener at least.
Yeah.
I don't want to put the exact same flavor 3 times in a row because nobody would do that. Would you have a meal where every course was exactly the same?
Right.
No.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, I think that's important. And I think that our location alone for how Chicago works and how segregated it's always been and whatever, very much allowed us to be that place that allowed people who had only ever done Southside rooms to come and feel comfortable hopping on a show. Because our audiences to this day are mixed.
They are.
I mean, it's everybody. You get tourists, you get locals, you get, you don't know what you're going to get. From 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., you get 2 completely different audiences. And so it's hard. It's a hard room. You have to know how to adjust. You have to like be funny. You can't just like do what you do at that open mic on the North Side all the time and think it's going to work because it probably won't.
Right.
I mean, it's very humbling. I've heard from comics to do our stage. And so it's hard, but I think it helps people get better.
Yeah. What's the last stand-up comedy special you watched? Not at your club.
That I didn't,
TV,
that I
online,
didn't produce.
something like that. Yeah, that you didn't produce.
I watch everything in clips now.
Okay.
Nate Bargatze's last special, I think I watched, but I feel like, I don't know, a lot of these specials by like minute 20, it's just the same thing. What was it? Was it Chris Rock that did one? He was wearing white? Was it Netflix?
Yeah, Selective Outrage.
Yeah, I always turn them off. before they end.
Mm.
And maybe that's just a me thing. He's smiling.
Well,
maybe
yeah,
the
yeah.
social media algorithm has manipulated my brain, but I don't know. It's just people
That's
like,
not it.
you know how like when musicians make albums, they
Yeah.
used to make an album
Right.
where it was a story from the beginning to
Right.
the end, and you could
Yeah.
listen to it all the way through, and it was enjoyable.
Looked at the artwork,
Comedy specials,
everything.
I feel like they're just, I don't know, it's just a lot of the same so that they could clip it and let it go viral on social media. It's not a fully produced product from beginning to end
Well,
anymore.
it's
This is honest
complacency.
feedback.
Yeah.
It's complacency.
I was gonna say, Sean, can you tell us
Yeah,
why
I mean,
that's not
it's
it?
if I don't have any competition, I can basically put whatever shit show I want out there because what are you basing it against? Other shit shows,
Yeah.
right? And so that's not saying everybody's special is a shit show. Let me start there
Okay.
because people love to say
They
that I'm
love to,
saying
don't
shit
they?
that I don't say. However, right? This is a prime example, right? Comedy bar. I've never done it. This is the owner. She's never heard of me. And
Heard of you. I know your name.
I've been here 100 years, right? But people will bring to her attention the people who are either as mid or below so that they stay in her graces, which is good business.
I understand.
Like people don't understand it's business
Correct.
at the end of the day. You don't want, now she introduces me and I say, you know what? I really like the comedy bar. I'm going to do this shit for $50 to host every Tuesday. You can't get me $50 to do shit anywhere else, really. You know what I mean? Now, on top of me doing it for $50, where does that put you and your $100? And you ain't shit as a comedian. So, of course, this is the business part of everything. But the specials are mid because there's no sense of urgency. You have a GOAT that lapped. Then you have people waiting for Chris Rock to, well, he finally did address the slap. But how thirsty and fucked up is comedy that we had to wait 2 years for a motherfucker to talk about a slap? Like, this is what comedy has come to on the public scale. And that's why I respect everything she said as far as having a good show and having a reputation for a good show. So people just come to see good shows and it ain't a money grab. And they just people who sell tickets and say, yes, bitch, with that camera for 13 minutes. Like, it's that's important. And it's and that's why from this point moving forward, I will be a lot more supportive in that, especially hearing what I've heard, because that is what drives a comedian like me. I love the art. And that's why a lot of people don't like me because they're money grabbers. I don't care about that, right? If you know, I hate to go here with it, but I can fuck the same people poor as you can with money. So I don't see the urgency to your money. But you get the urgency to your money.
I should have warned you, Sahar. I'm sorry.
No, he's fine. I'm behaving. You don't want me to get going.
I'm gonna book you before you leave today.
Yeah,
That's
so I respect everything that she said because it is real. These specials are mid because there's no fire. I guarantee if one hot comic right now, somebody that still really care and they really putting the time in, no disrespect to like even the little rails, but he had way more memorable sets at Jokes and Notes than what people are seeing of him as of lately. But it's a different struggle. He's even said that himself. When you are at this level, the jokes are more necessity. Once you eating dinner with the Genevieves, of course you're not going to be as funny.
He doesn't get the same
Yeah,
reps. He doesn't get the
exactly.
same reps,
Because you're
right?
not around the same people, you ain't got the same chop. We
Same
understand
time
all
even,
that.
but yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So we get that. So if one person gets through that don't care, it'll light that fire that needs to be lit, right? Whether it's a me or a JJ Williamson or Kelly K. Dub or one of those people that we know are monsters. If one of them get in there that don't care about the money and don't care about the notoriety, they just want to be a dog on that stage, then them other people have to step their shit up. And that's why they don't want people to know who certain people are. Because
I mean, there are clubs building entire business models off of booking strictly mid to low comics.
Yeah.
And just keeping it there, and it's insane. I mean, I just, I appreciate you saying that too, because the fact that you would even be willing to come and do a set and there isn't an ego there and it's still about the art. And it's just like, there are people who will be like, no, I don't want to come and do your Tuesday night, but I expect you to book me to headline on the weekend. And it's like, well, I only have so many weekends.
Right.
And I'm open 364 days a year. So like, why don't you just come and do some stage time and then, just be a part of it, and then it'll just grow organically.
Everything's about relationships.
I agree.
Everything's about relationships, and ego stifles a lot, right? Especially in comedy. And we talked about this earlier. That's one of the biggest problems that no one wants to address. Most comedians, right, are socially awkward people. Ryan Davis was real enough to admit that, and then I admit my flaws publicly, but most people don't like to acknowledge that we some pretty weird fucking people. We taking the number one fear in humans. No, we're fucked up people. We take the number one fear in humans, which is public speaking, and we say, fuck that. Not only am I going to get up in front of people and speak, I'm going to try and make a group of people who I don't even know laugh at shit. That's not a normal thought process in itself. Right? Comedians just ain't normal people. So I had to learn to be more tolerant and understand that it's a bunch of socially awkward people battling to be less awkward. And that's what's really creating this void. And when you say certain things, of course it makes me an asshole because I'm 6 feet tall and I'm not weird looking. So I can't say the same shit as somebody that's 4'7" and 300 pounds with bad acne. I can't. I don't get away with it.
Sean, did Eddie Murphy, and then let's go less like a Chris Rock or some of those other folks, but did stand up, specifically black stand up, did Eddie put like a superstar, and did Kevin put like a real superstar label that makes it now where I don't really want to just be really like your class clown wasn't necessarily in the back with Jordans and this and that. He was just a class clown.
There was
like
different
I'm a
evolution.
Superstar.
There was different evolutions, right?
Okay.
So you had Eddie Murphy, right? Who went from the kid, Saturday Night Live kid, to right by the time Boomerang came out, he made Bill a fly comic. Right. He made that a thing. The Bill Bellamy's. Like, they gave that shit different swag, right? Because it wasn't about being loud or whatever. It was like, damn, I can't be a pretty cool, suave person. And that's also another facet of why Eddie Murphy is the GOAT. No one, think about this. Like, I've heard the Chappelle GOAT argument. You take Chappelle out of comedy, right? You lose the Chappelle Show, you lose Half Baked, you lose, a little bit of something. But if you take Eddie Murphy out the equation, you take Robert Townsend, directed Raw. Now you don't have Keenan Ivory Wayans. Now you don't have In Living Color. Now you don't have, like, do you understand the trickle down of Eddie Murphy? Like, shit would not be what it is right now if it wasn't for Eddie Murphy. So he gave different things of swag. Bill Bellamy gave different things of swag. I gave different things of swag. Patrice O'Neal gave different things of swag. Like, different people bring different things into it. But unfortunately, somewhere somebody got through and was like, we're stopping here. We don't want it to go no further. And that's what happened. I think honestly, and I may be wrong, I think Rail could push and be the same comedian. I think he don't want to be honest with you. Like, I feel like if he understands that if he tries to cross certain lines in funniness, that doors will start closing. And a lot of shit is open for him right now. So I would not push that envelope too tough either, if I'm being honest.
Rail's on an upcoming episode, so we'll get into that. Yeah. Sahar, quick question. So improvs, at least from what I've gathered from my time in the space, a lot of times you'll find them in malls, and attached to where you have a lot of foot traffic, et cetera. Comedy bar, where you're at today, where you were at before, I believe, tied into kind of existing businesses that offer food, et cetera. I know you have the spot in Detroit. I don't know about that. I know you're looking at other spaces. Is that kind of a strategy in terms of we won't set up these standalone clubs? We're going to, from an economics and business perspective, tie into these, what I look at for outside looking in, spaces that have spaces that are underutilized, partner up, Kind of talk about.
That's how it started.
Okay.
You know, we started as a club that was actually inside of a nightclub.
Yes. Entourage, right?
Entourage,
Yes,
if anybody
yes.
remembered that place. And that's what like the underground scene is, right? That's what the bar shows are, these local, and that's what we knew, so that's how we started. All of my locations have different dynamics and business
Okay.
models.
Okay.
You know, like Chicago started that way. It then became a more legitimate partnership. What I will say is what we try to do in every city we go to is find partners in each city in whatever capacity that may be
Okay.
who are part of that town's community in some capacity. They are a staple of that city that will give us kind of like an authenticity going there. You know, we're never trying to like show up to a new town and be like, all right, here
Right.
we are and you better like us. Like Detroit was a really important one because if you know anything about Detroit, like they really support small business. They're very like, it's a big city with a small town community feel.
Mm-hmm.
So word of mouth is really important. Making sure that you are being a positive part of the community and supporting other small businesses. I mean, people are just like so nice there and they're so supportive. And like, it doesn't matter if they're your competition, they're still going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we've never had more support from the press and everything when we were having a grand opening than in Detroit. And so like, you know, every town is different. But like I said, we try to, like Chicago, I didn't partner with Gino's East Deep Dish Pizza because I love deep dish pizza. It's because it's Chicago. Like you think about Chicago, Gino's East is a staple. I didn't go to some other random restaurant. You know, I went to the most famous one in the most famous part of town. And I said, I want to give everybody the most authentic Chicago downtown comedy experience. How do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And most clubs that you go to, the food is shit.
Yeah.
You know, the venue in general is shit. It's garbage. It's not a good experience. You're there because you like the headliner and you'll pay the prices and deal with the bad service and look at the stinky carpet or whatever. And you're fine with it because you love whoever you're going to see at Zanies, right? But that one's for you. But with our club, we didn't have that. We didn't have the star power of big headliners. We weren't paying celebrity headliners. We were the new guys. We were nobody. So we were like, let's give them the best experience possible. Let's make a beautiful room with really good audio visual. Let's, you know, if we're going to do food, let's give them really good food.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's give them really high quality drinks and give them a great experience. You know, you can show up to the club if you've never been there. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's downtown. It's a vibe. You can come with your heels and your cocktail dress and your suit on your anniversary night and not feel out of place. Or if you're a tourist who's in a t-shirt and shorts, you still don't feel out of place because everybody's there. It's a nice spot. It's a quality experience. And so like we just tried to, you know, gain an edge in a way that we weren't able to. So in every city, we try to go and partner with something that feels authentic to that city. My club in Detroit, we don't even have food really. We're like in like a lower level. The entrance is in the back of the building. It feels really underground. It's like a speakeasy. It's very Detroit.
Okay.
You know, and in Pittsburgh, I'm partnered with this old Italian family who does like all the catering in town and everybody knows them. And it's just like, you know, they do our food and beverage because that's a very like Catholic Italian town. And so like we just wanted to be part of the community and do it authentically. And every club is different because it's built for that city. It's not just our club and saying, okay, you better like us. It's just we're catering to our audience.
So like to a comedian watching and listening, and I'm kind of getting a feel for a little bit of your business model, even though I may not be getting all of it.
Sure.
So Sean, for example, who's never performed at your club, but is extremely funny, 25 years in the game, right? A lot of people in Chicago know him. You don't really watch a lot of specials, but you watch like shorter clips or content, if I understand. So how would you find Sean?
Honestly, when it comes
Or what should
to
Sean be doing to get to you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like someone like him, if I were to book him, it would be because I got a referral. I mean, at this point, it's a lot of referrals and, you know, people that we trust saying, yeah, book this person, book that person. I mean, you know, like Rel, is someone who he was emceeing for us when we were at that nightclub.
Right.
You know, and back then, I mean, when people ask me now in other interviews and stuff, like, you know, who is your favorite comedian? Like, who did you love watching in your career? It's Lil Rel Howery. Like,
Right.
I mean, I remember as like a 21-year-old being like, oh my God, that is the funniest person I've ever met.
Right.
You know, and no offense, sorry. But he's just so good. And it was just like, and he didn't have an ego. You know, he's a headliner at that time, but he's just like, yeah, I'll come MC. You're paying $25. Okay. I just want to get in front of different audiences
Yeah, that was
and
prior to me.
practice.
But go ahead now.
You know, he came and he did it, and like that, he's like a perfect example of someone who just kind of like showed up, did it without ego, did it, and grew into like, you know, the kind of the old formula.
Yep.
I mean, his way of doing it is almost impossible now.
Right.
But it's just, you know, it's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of referrals. It's a lot of, you know, when people I get a dozen emails a day with submissions.
Sure.
You know, and it's hard because we only have so much stage time. And a lot of people are like, they treat a lack of booking as a rejection, but sometimes I didn't even see it, you know?
Right.
And so it does help to know somebody or to be friends with somebody or just to make an extra effort and show up and say hi. You know, like I think showing your face goes a long way because at the end of the day, like an inbox is an inbox and there's just a name and it's not, it's hard to differentiate.
I mean, I hate that comedians do that, right? It's the same thing with the festival.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
To think that people are supposed to remember every fucking person that's in a city is insane.
Yeah.
Like it's not even real. Like I tell people all the time, like audience members get mad at me because I just seen you 2 days ago. I'm like, listen, it is way easier for you to remember the 4 niggas that performed than me to remember the couple hundred motherfuckers that was in the room each night. I don't remember what color drawers I put on yesterday. And you expected me to remember all that. But yeah, I hate that ego part of it because that's what it is. They feel like you should know who I am. And it's like, that's not who it is.
I try to remind people, like, there's literally like thousands of you, and there's one of me.
And I've done a lot of shit, and I still will remind people, like, hey, you know, so-and-so told me this, or, you know, I did this, or the one thing I won't do because of technology, I'm not going to send no clips and no shit. You better go on YouTube or my page. Like, I'm not finna send you back in the day, we used to have to send the little clips and shit. I ain't doing none of that no more.
You're not showing up with DVDs.
Yeah, nah, I ain't doing that shit no more. You better throw my name in this Google search.
But the fact that you have to have things on a Google search, because a lot of people email you and then I will search them and I can't find you.
them.
And it's like, well, you're not a professional then.
Yeah,
You know?
and you can't be mad at that. But I hate that because people do that shit with me because they know I have relationships with different clubs, and they be like, "You never, bro." I can't remember everybody all the time. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap, but I would love for Sahar to just do one thing as we close. Close us out with that. If there is a Chicago feel or a Chicago vibe that you get from Chicago comedians. I mean, this show is based in Chicago. And if not, you could be honest, but does Chicago provide a certain energy or a certain vibe from comedians as we wrap?
Can I be honest?
Yes, of course. Please do.
And it'll be a little bit longer of the answer you probably want in a wrap, but
take your time.
Yeah, we'd be here for hours sometimes.
It used to be a vibe, and it's not anymore. And
expound.
This is my call to action, or whatever you want to call it, is to tell Chicago comedians to get your shit together. Because I have been working in other markets and secondary cities in little small town comedy communities, and those people have their shit together more than the current Chicago comedy scene. And I hate to say it, but people have gotten lazy, or they're just in a different mental space than we used to be pre-pandemic or whatever it is. But mediocrity has been accepted and celebrated, and that's not okay.
Damn.
And like unprofessionalism or a lack of professionalism and people who just expect things without having to put in the work or actually earn it, or just just act right. When you're in a professional space, act like you want to be there, act like you care about this, and don't just expect things, and don't take things personally and try to like take it out on people when you just weren't good enough, and that's okay. Just get better.
Yeah.
It used to be like, oh, okay, I didn't get this thing I wanted. I got to do better and get better. Now, that person's racist. That person's prejudiced. That person is a bitch. That person is an asshole. It's like, no, it's you. It's probably you.
Sounds like unprofessionalism too.
Yeah. And you know what? There are a lot of establishments that are respected in this city that just kind of like fuel that lack of professionalism and make comedians think it's okay. And I won't name names this time because I don't want to get sued, but it's not okay.
Yeah.
Just because all your friends are doing it and because it's become this like epidemic in the Chicago comedy community to just like be bad at comedy and think that you should be more than you are and whatever. It's like there are people who are still doing it and still deserve it. And those people learn very quickly that the Chicago comedy community right now is not a professional comedy community, and they leave. And so we don't have industry here. The fact that Rel is coming back and doing what he's doing right now and trying to help the community, I've been waiting. He's doing it finally. And it's like, why isn't every other comic who came out of here who's made it big coming back and doing it? It's because you need to have people that you want to invest into. And this comedy scene has like an ego problem right now.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Well, I'm glad you said that. And I'm gonna double down. Now, literally, this is what bugs me about Chicago, right? Right now. We used to have 3 comedy shows a night here. It was like a baby New York, right? And we would help each other, right? You would have a Monday, you would have a Tuesday, I have a Wednesday. We would call somebody and be like, hey, we got one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We can't pay you shit separate, but together, right? You can make $1,000 type week, shit, right?
Yeah.
So we would do this, and it was all about cultivating and helping, right? And so now, especially when you got Mike Epps and you got all these people saying that the best comedians come from Chicago, they think it's just like everything else that comes from Chicago, right? Like if you go out of town and you say you're from Chicago, people automatically assume you're a killer. Right. You could quite possibly be a 100% bitch, but you get the play because you're from Chicago, right? You just say you're from Chicago and get loud, motherfucker. What? I'm from Chicago,
and that used to be true,
and that used to be,
and it shouldn't be anymore.
We still have the market cornered as far as success rates with the Deons and the Corey Holcombs and the Little Rails and Sherry Shepherd. What's the other black lady? Cheryl Underwood. So we still have a lot of prominent. Like we still the only city that had a king and a queen, right? We have both.
Yeah.
But we let that shit get to a certain place. And that's why when people say, are you still nervous when you do shows? Yeah, I'm still nervous because I care, right? And I want to do well. And that's what it fuels me to do well, because I don't want to be mediocre. I don't want to be mundane. I don't want to be any of these things because of an overinflated ego, right? And that's what always drove me to be a better comic. Despite contrary belief, it's my lack of ego that made me a great comic, right? Because most people, and I tell people, most people don't like me off top, right? So to make people who don't like you go from here, to bring people from here to here is harder for me, right? Like I tell Just Nisha and Funny Tierra all the time, I wish I had what you had. You could just go on stage and people instantly be like, I fuck with you.
Yeah.
Me, I'm going to say it.
You're a warm boil.
Yeah, well, I mean, and just to, I'm sorry I'm talking a lot, but it is very important for whoever is here to be trying to build the industry. And like, when I say industry, I mean ways to make money and be professional in the comedy business in Chicago, because it's not here. We don't have it. It's not New York. It's not LA, but it should be.
Should be.
And
absolutely.
like, the people who have made it big, all those people you named, plus a million others, they need to be coming back and reinvesting into this community and setting a higher standard than what's here right
For
now.
what it
Like
is,
these
yeah.
kids are acting like they're in high school, and like it shouldn't be that. It should be the pros, and that's not how this comedy community is acting. And like our club, I mean, I invested a ridiculous amount of money in putting a very unnecessary production
I was going
system
to ask you about that, but yes, you
into
have.
the club.
You
Okay,
have,
that
yes.
room is a soundstage.
Yes.
Every single person who does that show and leaves that stage at the end of the night, I have a fully edited special ready to go.
Right.
Oh, you know, we should produce a special. By
Yeah.
the way. But I take the footage. It's beautiful. It's better than anything these kids have ever had. I
Yep.
send them over,
Yep.
and they don't even post it. They don't even take the time to cut a clip. If they do, they do it all weird and make it look bad somehow, and they don't even tag us. And it's just like, why am I doing this?
Right.
Like,
Let me say
you need to
this.
care for me to care.
If I ever do, when I do your show, this is my disclaimer.
Yes.
I am an idiot. I do not know how to. I just learned how to put a song on a picture 3 weeks
No, that's
ago.
okay. That's what I'm trying to say is, what I'm saying is we have made the investment. We will do all of it, but they
Yeah.
don't trust us. They go,
yeah.
well, you're trying to steal my content.
Don't
and it's like,
get it.
I don't want your content.
Right.
I want to help you be more valuable because it makes Chicago more valuable,
Right.
and then it makes my club more attractive
Makes
to
everything
customers.
make sense.
Well,
Yeah.
you can do
That's
whatever. Like chocolate sundaes, they post me all the time, and I don't care. I don't get into none of the politics and all the stuff that people like to say because it does me good and it does.
Yeah, you
them
gotta
good,
put
know?
you gotta put your
Absolutely.
content out there. People
Yeah.
who
Gotta
tell
do
you
it.
to take something off because that's gonna be in my new special. It's like it's just an ad for your
Yeah,
special.
absolutely.
That's just I'm promoting you. If somebody liked
No,
that
what
joke,
it
they're
is
gonna
is
go
them
look you
people
up.
only got them couple jokes. And
Exactly.
They don't.
That's it.
You
That's all.
you post that, they dead. They pop. They go to the show like, well, now what the hell am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
Sahar, your Mount Rushmore of Chicago comedians
Now,
now. But they don't have to be here, but just Chicago born. They could have gone elsewhere, but like your Mount Rushmore of Chicago comedians.
is that 4 people?
4 people, yeah.
We might have to do another city knowledge.
No, okay.
No, it's plenty now.
Nah, there's at least 4 motherfuckers.
I have a lot. I have a long list.
Okay.
But
List of 4 that come to mind.
just my favorites.
Yeah.
That I've genuinely enjoyed watching. That I don't
Absolutely.
go in the green room for. Lil Rel Howery,
Okay.
Corey Bell,
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Jeff Asmus,
Okay.
if you know him.
I don't know, Jeff.
And God, I'm trying to pick someone where when I don't pick the other one, they're not going to get mad at me. Calvin Evans too.
Calvin. Okay.
really love
Shout out to
Calvin.
Calvin.
Yeah.
My friend.
Yes.
All right. So
Gang banging with none of the fun.
best since it is a business comedy, but it is a business. Who are the I never was as fortunate as you in terms of having a diverse audience.
Mm-hmm.
But depending upon who the act is, it does, especially if they have a following, it can draw a certain audience.
Yeah.
What's the best comedy audience? Is it a white audience? Is it a black Latino audience? Really?
My favorite. They are the most fun.
Why? Okay.
They spend the most money. They're the most respectful. And it's always a good time. And they show
Damn.
up and they support. They support their own community. So if I have a big Latino headliner, they are buying tickets ahead of time. They're buying VIP. They are showing up early. They're having dinner. They are buying shots and drinks. And I mean, highest check averages, best audiences in terms of
Nalito.
Yeah, nah, look.
Comedy
is
Festival
Latino audiences.
2026.
And it's that like sense of community
Yeah,
and like,
that's
I mean, I think
interesting.
everybody would agree that Latino culture is just a fun, warm, amazing culture, and it translates into the comedy sector too.
Yeah, I mean,
2026 knowledge.
and
Comedy
acknowledging
Festival.
the
Comedy Bar
elephant,
Miami.
acknowledging the elephant in the room. Acknowledging the elephant in the room, that makes all the sense in the
It
world.
does. It
Because,
does.
and I made a joke about it, which has become stock now, by the way.
Okay.
But I talk about how, the reason that Chicago comics are so great is because the black crowds are so terrible.
No, they're not. My second favorite.
No, listen, let me. Okay, I get to say this. You can't.
Okay.
It's the difference between a black crowd and niggas.
Okay.
No
Nigga
comment.
crowds are terrible. They come there with this sense of entitlement. They think they're funnier than the people there.
True.
These motherfuckers. I've literally, I re-emphasize the difference between blacks and niggas. They are two completely sets of people.
Yeah.
So black rooms are probably great. You get black people downtown.
Yeah.
But the people that be at Francis wouldn't even come to that place.
Right.
Because they'd be like, man, this motherfucker
gotta do this. Yeah.
Like everything, this is how they talking. Motherfucker, y'all ain't got no goddamn you ain't got no Hennessy. What the fuck kind of place ain't got no Hennessy? Man, I ain't coming back to this goofy ass place, bro. These motherfuckers ain't got no. So I get it. And I thank you. I'm glad that you are bringing up the points that need to be pointed. Black people, we got to do better.
Thank you for not asking me the worst crowds.
We know
I went positive.
We know it.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah.
Man, look at this motherfucker. Especially, and it's no disrespect, but like you got the black comedians from up north. They more on the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
They not street. They not none of that. And you'll have people really like when Dave Helen was here, really judge them because they not hood. Like, man, like I seen him. I don't want to think. I just want to laugh. Well,
Right.
Well, I write jokes, sir.
That's facts. Well, Sahar, super appreciate it. When I kind of put this podcast together, I don't see many of these types of podcasts. We're talking about the business, and hopefully some of the folks who are checking us out, comedians specifically, they get to understand the other side, right? Like in the years that I've been working, I've always tried to talk and help them to understand the other side. And we're together, right? When you talk about kind of creating industry, et cetera, that's why I'm excited that we were able to work with you all this past year on the festival. We're going to do more things this year. You have an awesome space. The videos and the production that you're putting out just makes it easy for someone who's trying to produce shows, perform, et cetera. And so I think you gave some great insight, continued luck and success to everything that you're building.
Thank you. Make sure you don't get me canceled. Just cut anything that.
Not at all. Trust me, I take
Only
all
spoke
the
Not that it would be the first time.
But yeah, super appreciate you pulling up and looking forward to doing a lot with you moving forward.
Can I say one thing quick?
Sure you can, Sean.
Okay. Thank you for coming here, sincerely, right? Because you addressed a lot of things that need to be addressed, right?
Yeah, I could go on a lot longer. But we only had
it's
an
a
hour.
whole civil war in comedy in Chicago right now. And unfortunately, I'm one of the main people to get drugged into it. So I'm glad that maybe hearing it from somewhere else kind of softens the blow, because when I say it, people take it as, oh, I just think I'm the shit in this ego. And it's like, nah, bro, y'all really are becoming Frankenstein's monster. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is a great culture. It's a great city. We got the best everything in the world, the best food, the best skyline, the best everything. And I think that we can get back to it, but it has to be people like yourself, people like myself, people like Knowledge. You got to trust the process. You got to trust that we not telling you stuff to make you angry. We're not telling you stuff to berate or to make you feel lower about yourself. Becoming more professional is something you need to do.
I genuinely don't hate comedians. I want them to do well. I want to help them, but it gets frustrating when you're trying to help people who don't want to let you.
People, this podcast especially has made me like people have wanted to fight me because of the shit that's been said on this show. I've literally had people like da 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 da, and it's like, bruh, I'm not here to hold your hand and coddle, right? So if I say that if you work, you shouldn't be as funny as a person that's not working because they have all day to write a joke and you only have a couple hours. To be offended by that is insane to me, but it only makes sense to you because a hit dog yelps. So by having somebody like you come on here, somebody who's dealing with different types of comedians, and I mean ethnicity, I mean how they do it, everything, and you can say, okay, I'm dealing with all different types of egos, that maybe hearing it from another space, they'll understand, hey, this is, this is some shit we need to work on. And maybe Sean not the bitter, because this is what they trying to paint me out to be. I'm not bitter. Like I could give a fuck less what you do, but I care about the sport and the craft. That's why I became a comedian.
Yeah.
It wasn't a money grab. It wasn't for chicks. It wasn't none of that. It was because I watched Eddie Murphy as a kid, and I seen him do as a kid on Raw when he had Bud playing him. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that is what inspired. And then Bernie Mac being my mother's friend and all this different stuff, it lit a fuel. I said, you know what? I want to make people laugh, and I didn't care about none of the other stuff. I had that as a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thank you for coming on here and expressing certain things, because people play nice on here. And they try to make me the bad guy, and they
I'm
don't
really
say
bad
certain
at faking
things.
it and playing
Yeah,
nice.
but no, you
So-
said what needed to be said. And so hopefully people see it and be like, you know what, maybe I do need to be more professional. Maybe I do need to turn this down. Maybe I do need to let my ego down a little bit. Maybe I do need to do that, because no one can get better if you can't acknowledge where you falling short.
I think as a city, we have to, from a comedy perspective, even
do better.
we have to do better. And Chicago, it's like the Bulls of the 90s. Like, it's kind of, we still have dope comedians here, but
We also
sometimes
have
when
a reputation to uphold, and like
absolutely. And that's
it
what
gets embarrassing sometimes. Like we need to do better.
And a lot of young folks just, they
Yeah.
move into that, right?
Yeah.
They move into the fact that Chicago has the best kind of, like, you don't. We're talking about
Yeah.
the other. So you have to actually, you just can't get roped, you can't get grandfathered in, right? You have to do your own work at the end of the day. And even when I came back into comedy after being out of it for a while, the way that I look at like a healthy comedy environment is you're always going to have, like, when I look at the rooms, there's so many rooms that there's no knowledges. You have folks like Sakum and Don Skeeble. You think back in the day, the Marys, the Raymonds, when I look at people who actually had successful spaces, they don't touch it anymore. That lets me kind of know that there's something kind of there's something that's not right, because you have people that were in the space that weren't comedians like Sahar, et cetera, but we want to build it. When you don't play, like I stopped playing for a while, it sometimes speaks to this shit ain't worth our time, essentially. And a good environment needs both, right? It needs the comedian, but it also needs the other folks who maybe understand more of the business aspect to create kind of a healthy environment. And I felt like
I think if everybody who's here works harder and does better, then all of the people who came out of here who are successful and who can come and help lift the community will come and do it. But you gotta give somebody like Lil Rel a reason to want to come back.
Yeah.
And he's doing it, and it's good. But like, we need 20 of him.
All of them, yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
I mean, we need, and not to say in competition with you, because I know you say, 7 days, you open 7 days a week, but we need to get back to, we used to have the poppiness outside of New York. New York is crazy, right? Like, New York got about 30 rooms a night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, Marshall, this dude had a room didn't start till 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we were never to that caliber, but we were right behind them as far as the level of rooms that could be done and the camaraderie. And Marlon had it. I had this. This was over here. It was in different sizes and it was in different places. And it was just a different vibe. Like the Millers. When we used to do the Miller Comedy Search, they used to literally go to different comedy clubs within the city with different hosts, and it was cracking. And we can get back to that, but everybody just gotta, we can't keep separating internet comics from getting better or trying to alienate them because of how they got on or whatever. All of it, if it get integrated, makes sense for everybody.
Facts.
Cause I don't know how to edit no video. So if you can tell me how to edit a video, I can help you punch a joke, and we doing better together than separate.
Right. Well, thank all of you. I would say that I learned a great deal of knowledge, Sean and Sahar, much appreciated. You at home watching and viewing, we hope you really enjoyed the content. Make sure you are following the page at What's Funny Today Show. Make sure you jump on the YouTube and subscribe. Please leave us a comment. Let us know you're there, where you're tuning in from. Until the next time on the What's Funny Today Show, where we are always sure to tell you. Peace.